The JooJoo from Fusion Garage has caused quite a stir here at Stuff. On paper, it could be a serious iPad contender. It's cheaper, it's bigger, has flash support, a USB port, Bluetooth, and a 9-second boot up time. But does that make it serious competition in this new dawn of tablet computing? Let's find out. So underneath this huge 12.1-inch screen, you'll find a 1.6 GHz Atom processor, NVIDIA Ion graphics, and a 4GB SSD, all encased in a tapered outer shell. The result, the JooJoo is nearly 19mm thick and a little bit weighty at just over a kilo. Its elongated form isn't great for portability either, and as far as tablets go, the JooJoo is pretty big. Now, moving on to the 16:9 high-def capacitive touchscreen. Now, it automatically adjusts brightness using an ambient light sensor, and at the risk of burning down your battery life, you can override this sensor to make everything just that little bit brighter. There's also some backlight flare at the sides, but nothing too distressing. But what is particularly distressing is the erratic responsiveness of the touchscreen. It's horribly temperamental and sometimes won't even acknowledge your tap, or multiple taps for that matter, and will test your patience at the best of times. In fact, generally I just found the entire UI to be quite glitchy, and screen transitions equally glitchy. In fact, everything could just do with being a little bit smoother, but of course this could all be fixed by a future firmware update. The icon-based home screen has a bit of an odd layout too, by being a bit lopsided, with more or less everything parked on one side of the screen. Scrolling down to see all the icons and applications when there's space available doesn't really make sense. It definitely makes more sense in portrait mode when everything becomes central. There's no offline applications to play around with either, so when there's no Wi-Fi, that means no app fun times, no internet fun times for that matter either. But the good news is the screen is less susceptible to those horrible finger smears than the iPad. Now, there's only one button, the power button. So navigating the web is a mix of jabbing at links and typing into the on-screen QWERTY, which sensibly comes in two sizes, one for desktop use and one for handheld typing. And if virtual keyboards aren't your thing, you could always hook it up to a Bluetooth keyboard. So by having full internet access with multitasking and flash, full screen browsing on the JooJoo can be a fantastic experience, especially for web apps like Google Docs. But the keywords here though are can be. The JooJoo struggled to find Wi-Fi networks despite other devices in the same vicinity picking up multiple networks. And with no way to search for a network manually, your only option is to pretty much wait, which is rubbish. Still, once you are online, the experience isn't stifled by the lack of flash support, and working in the cloud is brilliant. It's just a shame there's no way to install client software for the likes of Spotify or Skype. There's no ebook store either, or any way to download titles, but you can still use the JooJoo as a reader. We downloaded a few titles from Lulu directly into a browser-based PDF reader, and it's easy enough to read on the display, but there's no eye candy like you get on the iPad, and scrolling pages feels a bit too much like hard work. There's no media player software installed either, so you're left with streaming sites for your music and videos, but this isn't entirely a bad thing. There's loads of entertainment out there, for example, unsigned bands on MySpace or the BBC's iPlayer. Now sadly, the JooJoo struggled to render HD streaming from the iPlayer, and of course you can't use it on the move. But when it wasn't being temperamental, video looked very sharp, especially HD YouTube clips in full screen. The speakers are horrible though, so plugging in your headphones to the 3.5mm jack is a must. So there's a lot to fix before the JooJoo can go up against even a netbook. It has decent hardware, it runs Linux, and it has a 5-hour battery life, so there's massive potential. But for now, there are just far too many niggles to make it a truly useful tablet, and I'm looking at the touchscreen, the UI, and internet connectivity in particular when I say that. But perhaps this could all be saved by a future firmware update.